It's a privilege to be around people, and I'm a firm believer that camaraderie is forged in adversity, right? So I look forward to it. I look forward to things that are hard. I look forward to relationship building with people that want to do things that are also hard. And I lived in my buddy's mom's pantry, next to Fig Newtons and distilled water on this little twin mattress. And my daughter and my wife are with her parents. And man, it wasn't fun, but I knew, like, in order to create what I wanted to create, in order to move forward, I had to just put myself under that pressure, and I had to be able to be all in. And
welcome back to another episode of The Burn. I am Ben Newman, and every week we are going to bring you stories of the burn that lies inside of some of the top performers in the world, athletes, celebrities, entertainers, entrepreneurs. And I'm promising you today, we are not going to disappoint. One of the things I always like talking about is how that burn actually ignites your why and your purpose that then causes you to take the significant action that your highest levels of performance will require. It's uncommon to get yourself there. It's not for everybody. But as you've seen in the consistency of the stories on our show, The Burn, we deal with performers who will take you there. They will be an example. And today's guest, my friend Will Grimes, is an example of what I want the overarching theme of our conversation today to be about: capacity. As a Marine, he was in the Special Operations Training Group. He was a sniper. He performed at the highest possible level, fighting overseas for our country, for us to have our freedom. Performing at the highest possible levels in the military, he comes back and he goes on to become a police officer. And not just a police officer, but he got in harm's way. That's all Will knows. He gets himself in harm's way. He gets in the fire and he takes on life. And he was decorated in his work as an officer. He has now gone on to be a top producing real estate agent in the world, in the top 0.5% at Berkshire Hathaway. And now their entire team has transitioned to EXP. Many of you know his Day One $0 podcast. I was on the podcast. The podcast has taken off. So I could just keep going on and on and on, but I think you get the point now. This man has a burn. There is fuel inside of him. It has caused him to recognize he has great capacity, and he continues to take action every single day. And Will, I think that's why you and I get along so well, because we are not about those people who talk and don't have any action, right? We're believers that the action tells the real story. So what does that mean to you, being a guy who's fought for this country, worked the streets, fighting for our safety, and has gone on to be one of the top performers in real estate? What does that mean to you to have a life full of taking action?
it's a privilege, man. I learned that from a young age, being involved in sports, and growing up playing baseball and football, and it's a privilege to be around people, and I'm a firm believer that camaraderie is forged in adversity, right? So I look forward to it. I look forward to things that are hard. I look forward to relationship building with people that want to do things that are also hard. And it's not always the funnest. I'll be honest with you. It's not fun when it's starting. When we started real estate, man, I sold everything off. I had helped my buddy build a fitness company. I'm going out onto my own, and hey, I'm going to do this real estate thing. And I had to become a fully licensed broker. And I sold off cars. I was making a little bit of money, but I was not good with money, Ben. You would not be very proud of me at all, man. And so I had to get rid of it, man. I had to put myself back, under the fire. And it's not fun doing it. I lived in my buddy's mom's pantry, next to Fig Newtons and distilled water on this little twin mattress, and my daughter and my wife are with her parents. And man, it wasn't fun, but I knew, like, in order to create what I wanted to create, in order to move forward, I had to just put myself under that pressure, and I had to be able to be all in and make sure that I was finding the right people to put myself around. And once you get that ball rolling, man, once you've had some success there, you understand why you've got to go to the dirt and get your head out of the clouds as far as building. And but it's a privilege. I think that's where all of my deep friendships come from. The gentleman that introduced me to you, I'm surprised you even talked to me, Ben. I've been hunting you down for years, man. I remember meeting you and over a phone call, and you heard this is when I was top 1% in the world, and we met through a buddy, Gavin, and you spoke to me on the phone for about 5 minutes, gave me some words of encouragement, and said, "Cool, man, I got my eye on you. Have a great day." Man, that was it. But it was like, hey, man, you had to just continue to get back to work and just realize that, there's good people out there and there's good people to collaborate with. But it's not so much the talking, it's the doing. But every special relationship I have, it's been forged in something adverse, like business or like the military. And it's hard to get away from that once you get a taste of it.
The things that you actually can speak to, because I know you're one of those individuals who tends to keep a lot of what you've done private. And I think one of the unique things that you've done with the special operations is that there's still so much that you do tied to that community today, which I think is very unique and says a lot about you and speaks to that capacity topic again. There we go, capacity. But what can you tell us specifically about your military training? So many coaches that I work with, Coach Kleiman in particular, especially in our new book, Uncommon Leadership, he has a chapter that's about finding your edge in the details. And when I think about a military unit, especially special operations, how important are those details for you to complete a mission? And how have you been able to carry that over into the success you're now having in real estate? Because I think so many people, they complain about where they are in life rather than recognizing some of the greatest lessons that are going to define who they are actually what they're in right now, the fire, the adversity, the challenge, or the learning lessons. What could you speak to there?
Life and death, right? The details, it's just life and death. I mean, it's, when you're training for things like that, it's for keeps, man. There's no timeouts. There's no bell, it's life or death, and those are your buddies. And I think the biggest thing that we had to learn, especially being young Marines and man, even before like the special operations command world, just a community in the Marine Corps, as far as like the level of detail and proficiency they had, just as far as like infantry Marines, man, that's some of the best guys I've ever met in my life. And that's where the standard was, that's where the standard developed. And most people don't realize if you want to go into, reconnaissance or MARSOC or any other special operations that you've got with the Marine Corps, you've got to derive from the Marine Corps infantry back in my generation, right? So you had to understand the backbone of the Marine Corps and how everything coincided, how everything was in support of the infantry. And you had to be proficient here before they even let you get sneaky squirrel or special. But I think you just have to learn a new you. I think you got to be broken and you got to learn a new standard and a new level of effort. And man, like for example, a funny story, Ben, you'll enjoy this. I go to boot camp. I'd never shot in a rifle and I didn't know how to swim. I know, right? Like, yep. And this is where I'm deciding to go. And we get to the, by the way, I was high shooter at a boot camp. Don't get it twisted, right? and there was 2 lessons that I learned in boot camp that I took with me into life. And these were super important. One was, I'm on the rifle range and I'm nervous. And this is the one time they're kind of nice to you because drill instructors don't want you shooting anybody on the range, right? Like they don't need to freak you out or piss you off on the range because you got a loaded gun in your hand. And I remember sitting there before I was getting ready to shoot for the first time, and I was a little nervous, and drill instructor Sergeant Graham came up to me and he goes, "Grimes, what's up, man? Like, what the heck's wrong with you? You good? Are you good?" And you're supposed to talk in third person. This recruit is, and I'm messing it up, and he's like, "Grimes, just shut up, man. Like, hey, what's up?" and I go, "I've never shot before." And he leans in and he goes, "Good. No bad habits, no hillbilly bullshit. Listen to me. You do exactly what I say, how I say, when I say, and just give your max effort. You're going to crush." And like, I just remember being so relieved. I'd never even thought that like, oh, I've got no bad habits. I'd never thought of, oh, there's an advantage to being new because I haven't learned something the wrong way for so many years, in the backwoods or whatever it may be. And man, just the perspective shift on that leveled the playing field for me. I was no longer intimidated by other guys that had shot rifles before in boot camp and crushed that. And then the other part was the swimming part, man. You had to, you know, you had to jump off this 15 or 20-foot platform, and they'd say, hey, if you don't know how to swim, you're still doing it, but raise your hand when you're up there, so we know not to let you drown, but you're jumping in and you got to try to tread water for 5 minutes. This is a part of your first swim qual. And I'm like, oh God, man. So like I go up there, of course I raise my hand because I don't know how to swim, and I jump in, and I'd never gone that deep in a 15-foot pool before. I come back up, and you're supposed to try to tread water. Dude, I start doggy paddling it to the far side of the pool. I'm talking like right away, man. Like I was just super nervous. The fact that I even jumped, I felt proud of myself. And I remember the same drill instructor, he saw me swim over there, and he was like, Grimes, you mother effer. He screamed it, and I swear he walked on water coming after me. 2 other drill instructors are on this side, and they're like, oh, this kid's trying to bail out. And I remember they just kept slamming me in the water until I would finally relax. And then I relaxed, and the more and more I would relax, the more and more they would calm. And then they would teach me how to float on my back. And then for 2 weeks, I sat on the side of the pool and did flutter kicks and little things just to barely make swim qual 4. So the other thing I learned was I got broke. These guys broke me, man. They broke me beyond what I could have done to myself. And then I learned how hard I could work at something for 2 weeks just to make this much gain. Like that was it. Like coming out of boot camp, it was swim qual 4. I did the minimum, and but it was like I had worked as hard as I possibly could at it every day at the pool for just that much. And I also think like, hey, that's just perspective for life, man, or building a business, or if you want to be a professional athlete, like football, game of inches, right? Like there's so much work you do just to be this much better, but this much better here can make all the difference. So I think the biggest thing is just, I had to learn a new standard for myself, but I also had to learn that new standard was possible in the first place, and just have a barometer on what that looks like.
What would you say your burn was back then, and kind of take us to today and how that's carried through in your life, and maybe how you would articulate what the burn looks like for you today?
So back then I had a short stint in a little bit of pro baseball, about 5 minutes, about a conversation. And one of my best friends passed away in Iraq on his first deployment. And I remember when I was in high school, just hearing him talk about the Marine Corps, and his big brother was in the Marine Corps, and I graduated high school in 2003. So, this is, the war had popped off. It was the thing. It was there. OIF 1 was happening, and that's where his brother was at. And he was so proud to be a part of something bigger than himself in this big gun club called the Marine Corps. And, my dad was in the Marine Corps, So I had some interest there, but, I played ball, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to play ball. And, after he passed away, it was interesting, I don't know if I was ready for the business of baseball. I was a little burnt out on the college side, playing some JUCO, and had some promises and some talks here and there. And there's a business behind sports, and I wasn't prepared for that, and it is what it is. I'm sure, Ben, you're very familiar with that. And I'm sure you help a lot of kiddos with that. I wasn't ready, and I needed a change, and I wanted something to challenge myself. And I remember my buddy, man, he was speaking about the Marine Corps like it was his love, like it was his high school sweetheart, man. He was so passionate about it. And I also knew it would test me because I hadn't shot rifles, man. Like my mom was a hippie. My dad was a Marine Corps veteran from Vietnam era, and my mom was a hippie, man. My mom got mad at the school when they let us watch Lion King for indoor recess because it's premeditated murder, right? Because the uncle planned homeboy's death, right? Like, and this is right when I'm you're in 5th grade and girls are kind of cute, and like, here's my mom, man, like letting my teacher have it. Like, come on, man. Like, that's my mom, bless her heart. She's my biggest fan, but that's the household I grew up in, and my dad respected it, so I was super, super curious about it, but I was super scared of it, man. And I figured like that was going to be the number one test I needed to just go figure out who I am. And so it was the Marine Corps, and it was infantry.
And then what is your burn today, right? So going on, being a decorated police officer, doing a lot of, I mean, I would even call them missions from some of our conversations, right? Things that, a regular civilian officer is not doing. You've taken on the storm there. And then now, what is the burn for you?
Man, and excuse my language, but we, at the conference we talked about doing cowboy shit. And when I decided to get into real estate, it was so hard for me. Like I had ventured out of the police world. I helped a buddy build a fitness company, and hey, we grew that to 14 brick and mortar stores and crushed it. And it was time for me to kind of venture off and do my own thing. And I had some skill sets where I felt like I was a good entrepreneur, and it was time for that. And so I venture off, and you get that excited, you get the honeymoon phase, that excited phase where you're like, all right, man, I'm doing it. Let's go. And then like you do it and you're like, oh shit, it gets real scary, real dark. And I started kind of losing who I was, man. I felt like, like I get into, so I live in that pantry for a couple months. I get my license. I'm starting to do real estate, and I'm wearing a suit and tie, and I'm trying to act like everybody else and be a certain part. And I think that's human nature, man. I think we tend to become like a chameleon and try to fit into our surroundings and fit into what we're doing. And the reality was I was super scared and a little lost. Like the humbling part was my mom had to sign for a car for me because I hadn't made any money at real estate. I'd sold everything off. I needed a car to go to work, and so I'm about 2 weeks into real estate. My mom signs for this car, and this is my burn, by the way. You'll hear it. I'm headed back to work. The manager of the dealership's giving my mom a ride home, right? How lame is that? I get a $2,000 credit on top of the car to put myself in even worse debt because I need to have some money in my account. And so I'm driving back to work, and I get a phone call from a buddy that a Marine Corps veteran, combat veteran, had just gotten hit on his motorcycle and passed away. And it just, man, like this Calvin passing away just hit me so much different. And I almost felt bad for myself, man. I just was like, what am I doing, man? Like, I'm wearing a tie that's not mine. I'm in a car that's not mine. I got this check for the bank. It's not my money. And like, oh man, like, who am I? What am I doing? And, like, have I made the right decisions? Like, should I stay a cop? Should I stay in the military? Like, what the heck's going on? And super rough day. And so I go to work. I try to finish up some calls on my way home. My wife called. She had bought us a little townhome we were renting, at the time, and I tell her what happened, and she's pretty upset, she's sorry for me, and I'm like, hey, just don't be sorry for me, like, but I'm struggling. I'm just trying to figure it out, and I get home, Ben, and she's still crying, and I'm like, hey, like, he's got closer friends than me. He's got friends that do business with him that have to front the load now, like I shouldn't even be feeling bad for myself or anything. Like, I just need a minute. She's like, no, we need to talk. And I'm like, oh, and like, dude, I'm not that good looking. I'm broke. My wife is super hot, man. I'm just like, here it comes, right? You met some guy like Ben, and he's awesome. And right, like, here it comes, man. Here comes the talk. And I kind of said something like that. And she's like, no, what? And I said, well, let me go get some water in the, in the kitchen. And so I go to the kitchen and get some water, and there was a letter on the counter and a pregnancy test, and we were pregnant. Yeah. And she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. And I had never been thrown for such like a whirlwind of just different emotions, and I didn't even cry. I was so numb. And I apologized to her, and she's like, no, hey, it's okay. Like, like, I understand. I said, let me just take a shower. And, a couple weeks later, we found out it was a boy. And this is when I want to talk about doing cowboy shit, because we found out we were having a boy, and I'm like, oh, he's going to have my name, like, what am I going to tell him? And it's no disrespect to my daughter, right? My daughter is just different, like, Ben, you have a boy and a girl, it's different, like, you love them the same, but it's different, and I'm just thinking like, wow, what are the stories I'm going to tell him? And what am I going to be like? What's he going to see me as, and I started remembering everything that I was, and I'm like, dude, that's like, everything I'm going to tell my son has already happened. Like, so everything cool about dad is already like, it's already done. He won't even be around for it. Like, that guy's gone. Like, oh man, like, and it was like, no, man, like, hey, that guy made that Marine, like that guy made that cop. Like, it's who you are, man, that makes certain things successful. And I put my, this is big for like military or athletes, man. Like I put my Eagle Globe and Anchor back on, right? My Marine Corps emblem. I put my police badge metaphorically back on. I started embracing who I was instead of trying to change who I was, man, and try to fit into some society and wear some suit or talk a certain way. It's like, no, man, like what makes you unique and what's made you successful at the highest level here? Why the hell can that not work here? Like you just, man, you got to go about it and just do some cowboy shit and do it your way and find out what works for you and just being yourself, man. And that's my burn, man. Is like, I'm a dad, but like being a dad is badass and like doing business a different way and still being able to hit the top, it's badass, and it's been my burn for the longest time of just, hey, it's me. It's not the Marine Corps uniform. It's not, it's who you are. And I'll lead you with this because this was so humbling. I talked to my wife about this on our son's first birthday. And I said, hey, and my daughter, she's my stepdaughter. And so we're at my son's first birthday. And I'm talking to Kate outside and I just said, hey, remember that night? And she's like, yeah. And I go, man, I appreciate your strength. I appreciate you just letting me be me and just work through something, and something that was so challenging for me, and I said, hey, look at us now. Like, man, I appreciate it. And she goes, Will, I'm just happy you didn't tell me to get rid of him. And I said, wow. Like this whole time I'm thinking something is like so hard, when in reality, she was just glad I wasn't asking for an abortion. Like imagine that perspective. It wasn't hard for her at all to let me be me because at least I still wanted my child, right? And man, like that clicked too. And it was like, man, it's not just me. Like, dude, single moms are badass. Like they are so strong, and when she said that, man, it just triggered me. Like everybody's got a story in strength somewhere and they're just not identifying with it, man. Like, and they've got to own their story. And that's what we've done. And like building our real estate team. Like we don't do Zillow leads. We don't do realtor.com leads. Like we got people to just get in touch with what you would say their burn is and their story is. And guess what? Like out of all the agents we got, all of them but 2 are women. And they're kick ass and they're strong and they've got incredible stories that maybe not too many people know about, but it's just started like translating for me about like finding people's story like that and finding like where they've been heroic in their own right and just pushing that forward. And that's been our narrative across our business, man. And it's done well.
Well, we don't need to go any further. I mean, Will, what you just shared, your vulnerability, your transparency, that to me is real leadership. And that to me is why you have done what you've done in your life in terms of capacity in so many different areas and why the greatest chapters are in front of you. I feel blessed that a 5-minute phone call resulted in, now I'd say it's a love, man. I feel like you're a brother. When you came to the boot camp here in St. Louis and you and I got to spend some one-on-one time before everybody else came, I mean, it was just kind of a moment like we were meant to be sitting in this room. We were meant to have this relationship. And now you being a part of our team with BNC Speakers and BNC Coaching, one of the things I love about you, it's the cowboy shit. Like you're going to get what you're going to get. And, I normally don't plug this type of thing in our episodes, but if you're looking for an amazing dynamic speaker that's going to bring it to you real and raw and get the most out of your people or a coach, it's a guy like Will. And it's why he's on our team. It's why he and I have bonded. And I just have so much respect for what you have done. I mean, your resume is incredible. And I know the humble nature of a Marine. It started there. That's now carried through to all the success that you're having. I know you're not going to accept that compliment, but that compliment is real, and I mean it, because it's just incredible what you have accomplished. And I really do believe, and you mentioned it, it was the culmination when you hit that moment where you said, it's everything I've already done. It's going to cause me to be the best that I can be. For anybody out there that feels lost right now, you feel like you're in that moment, you don't know what your burn is, you don't know what the clarity is, look at Will's resume, look at the manner in which he's decided to stay in the fire, and look what's happening now. Don't get out of this fight. And so, Will, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm gonna a couple of things I want to wrap up, and then I'm gonna let you have the final word. But I appreciate everybody being on this journey, because this is what you get. You know, you get the raw, you get the real, you get the authentic. It's why I have the new book that I just came out with, Uncommon Leadership, because this conversation is not common. It's uncommon, but you have it in you to become uncommon as well. You know, it's one of the reasons why we've made so many changes to our Uncommon coaching platform, which you can check out in the caption. But most importantly, it's the stories, it's the burn. It is your opportunity to find what lies inside of you, to ignite that why, ignite that purpose, and to go chase down what it means for you to be your best. So I know I don't ask much, but go follow Will. Stay connected to that fire. Stay connected to his passion. Maybe he's going to be perfect for an event, or to maybe coach you to your next level. And I appreciate all of you staying on this journey of the burn. I cannot wait for week after week after week to keep bringing you these amazing stories. But Will, I'm going to let you have the final word.
You got any questions for me? You want me to end it on anything specific?
I just end it on what's on your heart. Actually, you know what? I will put it in the form of a question, because I think that this will be unique. When you came to the boot camp, it was pouring down rain in the morning when we went to work out. And you could tell, like, some of the people in the boot camp were like, it's pouring down rain outside and we're supposed to work out outside. How does this work? Tell us about your mindset of what it means to show up in life, and where that stems from. Because as a Marine, there's no, hey, it's raining, let's reschedule this for another time.
If it ain't raining, we ain't training, man. That's how it goes. And no, man, hey, to your credit, you said, hey, guys, if you want to work out inside, you can. I'm on 75 hard. I got to do this outside, so I'm outside. And hey, if you guys want to sit under these little umbrellas and work out, cool. And, you know, here's the deal. You were the only, you know, when we first walked outside, you kind of like directed everybody under the cover, you know, of like just where to stay, like out of the rain, you know, on the, you know, under the cover and to work out with you. And you were the only guy out there, you know, and I think naturally we all kind of like went under those little things, because you were asking us to go there, you know, like, hey guys, go ahead and sit up here, and you're the leader of the course, right? So we're going to listen for a second, but you were the only guy out in the rain by yourself. And now it just doesn't work like that, man. Like, so I decided to come out in the rain as well and get some with you. And then I think, you know, some of the others followed in trace, and
yeah.
That's it, man. Just not leaving a guy behind, not leaving a guy on his own. And, you know, just that 3 foot radius, man, like your kindness, your hard work, your positivity. Don't underestimate what any one of your tools can do, even to just a person next to you, man. Like, everybody wants to either be big, Jeff Bezos big, or not at all. You know, and like there's no interim, and it's not true, and that's not how you get to be Jeff Bezos in the first place, or you. I mean, think about it, right? Like how many coaching things have you done? But the bottom line is just don't underestimate your impact. And if it truly is who you are, man, you're going to be bleeding that every day, and you're going to be practicing your impact wherever you have opportunity throughout your day, and just give it whatever it is, whatever you have that day, even if it's just a smile, a hand, just give it, right? Like, and it's more for you than you might realize. But I think that's just been the root of the Marines. It's been the root of everything we do with our company, man, is just having each other's back and just give.
Well, I appreciate that perspective. I appreciate you. I appreciate that fire that's caused you to have such a big impact. And I can't wait to continue to make a big impact with you. And I can't wait for you all to continue to join us on this journey, because if you haven't figured it out by now, we are in this fight together, connected to the burn.